Ladies and gentlemen, great to be with you. I guess I really am pretty proud of the journey from the corner store to the corner office, but I have to also tell you, it's been a long road in the sense that, you know, when my mom and dad went to my first grade teacher review, and they sat down with the parent-teacher conference, and I was sitting next to my mother and father, and Sister Jean Agnes in my Catholic school at the time turned to my mom and dad and said, "He's a good boy, but don't expect too much of him." And my dad said, "What?" And she said, "Well, you know, maybe a cab driver, could be a truck driver, but don't put a lot of pressure on the boy." So, you know, I figured with that as a backdrop, I had to live a life where I could control one controllable, that no one would ever out-hustle me. And so, at a young age, I was delivering papers and pumping gas and stocking shelves and waiting tables, working for the town. Any job I could get my hands on, I did. And I started in this delicatessen working at it, and lo and behold, the people that owned it decided to sell it, and nobody wanted to buy it. And the price kept coming down, so finally we cut a deal at $5,500 and owed $7,000 with interest. And if I didn't make the payments, everything I put into it was taken back instantaneously. That was the deal. So the urgency of leadership and of taking charge hit me young. And I certainly made my share of mistakes starting out with the store. But one of the things I learned quickly is you got to know your customer. And you got to understand who's paying the bills, and it's your customer. And, you know, I was in the early days, I think, of DoorDash because I found the senior citizen complex close to my store. And what you learn about senior citizens, they don't want to leave the house. So we deliver. And then there were blue-collar workers like my dad. They were flush rich on Friday night, and they were dead broke by Sunday morning. So we gave them credit, and they signed everything out all week long in a notebook, and they always paid me back on Friday night. But the big trick was getting those high school kids to walk a block and a half past 7-Eleven to my store. After all, why would they? They're right next to the high school. So I go down there one day, Tim, and I see 40 kids online with only 4 kids in the store. And I said to them, "Why are you all online out here when there's a big store in there?" And they said, "Well, they think we're going to take things." I said, "Don't worry about that. You follow me down to my store. Let's go right now." And I had built a video game room. I wasn't very handy, but my brother was, so we built a video game room. And I got these video games. You know, they were $7,500 list. Okay. Asteroids and Pac-Man and some crazy dinosaur game. But I could never have afforded that. But what I did do is cut a deal with the guy that owned them. He kept lowering the price, finally got to $4,500 per machine. And I said, "Dude, there's no chance. So why don't we do it this way? You put the machines in here. They'll always belong to you. You can pick them up anytime you want. But let's split the quarters." And don't you know, in 90 days, those video game machines paid for that store. Mm-hmm. So it was a lesson that really hit me early on, because at the end of a long day, one of the young people came up to me and said, "Bill, when we want to play video games, eat good food, and be treated with respect, we come to your store. And when we want to steal stuff, we go to 7-Eleven.
That's a great story. I want to move to the topic of leadership and team development, and I want to take you back to something you said about the interviews when you were a manager at Xerox. Mm-hmm. This is when your patch was uptown Manhattan from 57th to 142nd, the 2 rivers on the side. You had 17 sales guys working for you. Mm-hmm. And I was struck by 2 statements you made. One was, "I want to make sure everybody makes President's Club," which is an insane statement to me. That I run sales teams, to get 17 people in sales clubs is really stretching them. And the second thing you love saying is, "I love being on the loose." So my question is, could you break down for the audience what you were thinking about when you said, hey, I want everybody to go on President's Club? Because that's a team dynamic thing. And the question is, what about the personal motivation aspect of being on the loose means?
I love it. Well, I started out knocking on cold doors for a living, door to door, at 21 years old. And, by way of background, that job meant everything to me because I didn't want to own a Subway franchise. I wanted to sell the deli, give my parents a beach house, do a few things for my family, and then move into the big city, Manhattan. As Frank Sinatra once said, if you can make it there, baby, you can make it anywhere. And I wanted that challenge. And so I did a direct mail campaign to IBM and big companies like Xerox, and Xerox was the one that I was most interested in. They invited me in. The day of my interview, my house, which really often flooded, happened to flood. So I'm in my $99 suit from the mall that I charged on a credit card. And I gotta get through 4 feet of water. So my brother picks me up as I'm coming down the stairs and carries me out as the tide started to subside in Amityville, Long Island, to my dad's car, so he drove me to the railroad tracks. And this is an interesting dynamic, because you need the background to understand the psyche. And so I'm in the car, love my father, look over at him, and I said, Dad, I guarantee you I'm coming home tonight with my employee badge from Xerox in my pocket. I'm 21 now. And he said, well, you're a good guy. Don't put all that pressure on yourself. Just do the best you can.
Do you remember that statement from before? Don't put pressure on them.
100%. 100%. And so I go up the escalator. I read the annual report on this company's CEO, who was reinventing this company called Xerox Corporation, which at one point was the Google, the Microsoft, the Amazon. It was the one. And you gotta remember, things happen fast in tech. So this CEO saw it and he's like, I gotta reinvent this company now on total quality management, taking the Deming quality principles from Japan and bringing them into the US. Mm-hmm. By the time I was done with my train ride, I wanted to be him. But they weren't gonna give me the CEO job at 21, so you better get the damn sales job. So I come into a room like this at the top of the Sixes in Manhattan, with great looking people like you, and I look around, Long Island kid, running a little business, went to a Long Island college, and I'm in a room with brilliant people like you. And I look around and I'm like, damn, I might have overshot it a little bit with my dad. And Yale this, Notre Dame that, University of Chicago the other thing. And I could have panicked. That ran across my mind. But I figured, what is going to come of it if I panic? So I did what I always did. I talked to people, which I did every day in the store. What are you in for? What are you trying to get done? What's your goals today? How'd you make it into New York? Where are you coming in from? And I got answers like, oh, I'm playing the field. I'll see what they got. There's Morgan Stanley. There's Burroughs, there's this, there's that, we'll see. Right. And that was when I got my superpower, because I knew I wanted it so much more than they wanted it, and I wasn't going to be denied. So I get to my last interview, after 10 others, with the top boss at 9 West 57th in Manhattan, Emerson Fullwood, who today is still my great friend. Imagine that. I'm on a bench, waiting for the interview. And as I'm waiting, I'm sitting next to another guy, David Andermichael, who's one of my great friends to this day. And the secretary's name is Joanne Siciliano. Joanne is one of my friends to today. And I said, please register with Mr. Fullwood that I'm here. I'm willing to wait all night. I just wanted to know I'm here. No problem. She carries the message. I'm invited immediately in. And this is where the story begins and how it all goes. I was not in a job interview. I was in a fight for my life. Because if I get that job, I'm in control of my own destiny. So as I look over his shoulder to Central Park, and I realize this is the shot of a lifetime. Everything went on fire inside me. And so we have a great meeting, and he tells me, Bill, very interesting young guy, it was a really terrific conversation. You might have heard this in your career at some point. The HR department will get in touch with you in the next couple of weeks. Mr. Fuller, I don't think you completely understand the situation, sir. He looks at me like, what is this kid up to? Tilts his head again, and I said, look, I haven't broken a promise to my father in 21 years, and I guaranteed him I'd have my employee badge in my pocket tonight. Bill McDermott, as long as you haven't committed any crimes, you're hired. I said, well, I certainly haven't committed any crimes. Are you sure I'm hired? Is that a positive? Yes, sir, that's a positive. I get up, that way you're sitting, I pick him up, move him around a little bit, the bear hug, put him safely in his chair, zoom past Joanne Siciliano, and of course David and Michael too. I get to the 38th floor elevator, go down to the street, 57th and 6th, I run to the corner to Bunnenberger. Then you had to put quarters in phones. I put quarters in phones, call up mom and dad, and I said, I got good news. We got the job. Break out the Corbell. We're partying tonight. Now, some people in California actually don't know what Corbell is. You know, especially in Silicon Valley. It is Long Island Cristal. It's great stuff. It's about $2 a gallon. But then I worked my way up, and when I was 24 years old, I didn't want to be an individual contributor. It didn't matter that you're number one in the world and you're making a lot of money. I got my high at helping other people get their success, get their high, and teaching a craft and honing that craft. So I got these 17 young people right out of university. We had North-South Bronx home, down to 57th Street, river to river. And I was putting everybody in position to win. So Tony Garcia is going to do better in the South Bronx than Everton Harrison's going to do in the North Bronx, and Bill Atkins are going to do in Harlem. And by the way, we had an equal number of women, even then, and men, and it was an incredibly diverse, unbelievably talented team, and they all had one thing in common. They knew the standard was to be number one in the world. They knew the standard was that every single person would be successful, would make not just their quota, would make the President's Club, which is the top performers in the company. That was the standard. So we had our goals as a team. Each person had their goals as an individual. The world has gotten away from goal setting. You have to have goals. And with your reports, you got to think about what their individuality is all about. What are their personal goals? They're trying to put a kid through school, make a car payment, you know, get a house. What are they into, man? And so they had to write it down, we put it on a wall, and we celebrated each other. But here was the lesson. 80-20. 80% of what you do is what you're best in the world at. The other 20% of your craft you have to share. And we're going to commingle the talent. And no one gets left behind. And I cut a deal with the top person in the company, Barry ran. He ran the whole outfit. And I said, Barry, when the team, not if the team, when the team all makes Winner's Circle, President's Club, I kindly ask you to come to Hawaii and sit down and have dinner with that team. Don't do it for me, do it for them. And show that when something extraordinary is done, you'll get on a plane and demonstrate your recognition to them personally.
And who was he? He was the CEO or?
He was the president of United States Customer Operations. Later became the number 2 in the company, CEO at Avis and some other things. He's a legend, and he was the top guy in the company. Long story short, he did, and they did, and we did. And I think the main theme here is, you know, what is the standard? If you look at your companies today, and I realize that you do many complicated things in the technical community, but also you rely on other people to sell your product. And that's what turns you on when customers use, derive value from that product, and make a difference for their companies. That's what you do, right? So knowing what you know now in an example like this, and knowing that probably your average sales team has only 40% tops, making 70% of their quota, this sinks in a little bit. So that's how it all started.
What about on the loose?
Yeah, I did not like conformity. I did not like boring meetings and pretending that I was listening when the person who was talking did not actually have the same passion for the customer that I had. So I'm like, why am I wasting 2 or 3 hours looking at stat sheets when I can be on the loose in the market with this team doing great things? So I always cut a deal, and here's the deal. I explained that performance is the price of freedom. And if you perform, you should not be constrained by corporate bureaucracy. You should actually be reinventing it. And so they let me alone, and I was on the loose, and this team was on the loose. And we were tough on each other. Like, we met every Monday, first thing, in New York City, 8 a.m. We closed it down on Friday. We knew what our goals were at all times. We knew where people stood at all times. But we didn't have to do memos and form festivals and filling out this and that. We were on the loose with customers. And that, to me, is missing in corporations today. Everybody is too knotted up with details instead of creating new stories, new dreams.
And with 26,000 odd employees at ServiceNow, give us a couple of examples on how you've implemented that culture, because clearly it's a distributed team.
Well, my dear friend Ahmed is here today, President, Chief Operating Officer of a great company called ServiceNow, and it's so fun working with him, a great technologist, a fantastic leader. And he'll tell you, like, the topics I'm on right here, we're doing that within our own company. So we use the ServiceNow platform to run the corporation. We now have 28,000 people. We do have a financial system, we do have an HR system, we do have a quote-unquote, if you want to call it a CRM system. There's nobody in the entire company that even knows that. They look at only one thing. They have one portal, an AI-driven portal, in a secure way. They have access to everything they need to do their job, including their AI teammate, and we want AI to be the helping hand to make people better. And so that, coupled with a tremendous passion for the customer. We do not play games when it comes to the customer, their Net Promoter Score, their happiness, the endurance of their expansion, their utilization, the value they derive from the software. And we're really into, how are we helping this company be the best they can be? And that's where we get our high, whether it's in industries, it's in geographies, and I would also furthermore say the ecosystem. Building out an ecosystem where there's many more thousands of feet on the street than you could ever afford in your own company, really good idea. And so we're an open platform, we welcome our friends, we're good for it, we tell you we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it. And we want to be the defining enterprise software company of the 21st century. That's what I came here to do. And people say, well, what does that mean? And they don't really understand that you can have a dream where you're the one that wants to define an entire category. And for me, what it meant coming in here, because I left a great job at SAP by not renewing a 5-year deal, I came in here on the intent of taking what is a great platform and realizing that it was born in this century. And all the other ones in the SaaS space that are well known were born in the last century. So if we're going to define the enterprise and we're going to be that company, the 21st century really came into play. And I was kind of making a point when I did it. And now 28,000 people could tell you that. I even have some board members that want to tattoo it on their bodies. Please put it in a quiet place where nobody knows and make it small. But they do celebrate that a little bit. In 2019, SAP was growing in the cloud like 40% year over year, complementing the core, so why leave?
Yeah.
Why leave is because I had no single view of my consumer. I couldn't see my customer because I had acquired companies. They had different platforms, different release levels, some's in the cloud, some's on premise, all the stuff you guys deal with. And even in my own company, I might have multiple ERP systems in different regions of the world.
Yeah.
So, what did I do? I asked my number two to figure this out and give me a single view in preparation for the board meeting, and he said, hey man, we can't do it. I'm like, hey, I got 20,000 engineers running around here, what are they doing all day? And he said, no, it's an architectural issue, he explains it to me, and I said, who can do it? And he said, ServiceNow. And they did it in record time. Shoestring budget compared to any numbers I'd seen before, and it worked. And I was blown away. So John Donahoe becomes the CEO in like 2017. I was the first guy that's in his office on Sand Hill Road before he even went to ServiceNow. I flew in from Germany, I sat down with him like this, and I said, John, do you know what you have here? And he goes, Bill, I really don't know much about the enterprise, what do I have here? And I explained it to him, and of course I wanted to buy the company.
Right.
But I already had Germany at this point at like 9,500 RPMs on the
Engine's running hot.
and we had a big number to take out ServiceNow. But I say to John, let's form a partnership. We go to a golf outing in 2019.
Okay.
Now we're in the zone, and in that golf outing, it's John, very good golfer by the way, great guy too. Andre Iguodala, basketball player, you probably know him from your great Warriors, and top guy at Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
We're at the 9th hole, and John says to me, Bill, would you ever leave us like that? I said, John, why are you asking me that? I'm about to sign a 5-year renewal. Why are you asking me that? He said, I want to be your agent. I said, okay, everyone needs a good agent. No problem. So I go to the dinner, I give a talk on Win His Dream that night, and lo and behold, chair of the Nom and Gov committee, comm committee, lead director, we end up in a conference room, and I knew what ServiceNow could be. So that was where it all started to move in 2019. But I came in leaving something else that I really love too. So I wasn't going to do it if we weren't going to be the best. And so you're right. I did a global road show for the first 100 days in 2019, and I met every employee and the top 100 customers in the world. And that was a stroke of luck because that was the fourth quarter of 2019. The first quarter of 2020, COVID hits. And just think of it, in our lives, we have to be in front of the action. You gotta meet the people, you gotta meet the customer, you gotta know what's going on. And so the trust bridge had been built. And remember, trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. So we had the foundational layer. And in 2019, through COVID, we basically went into a room in Santa Clara, and we were gonna come up with blue sky thinking to create the next generation of ServiceNow. And I'm looking around the room and everyone's like, we got to solve for COVID. Because if we don't solve for COVID, we won't be a great brand. And we want to be a brand-led company. Because your brand shows up way before you do, and people talk about your brand after you leave the room. We got to do this. So we really focused on getting a release of all of the safety protocols of COVID. Not only within the offices where our customers operated, to continue their operations, but with the suppliers and the pharma companies to manufacture it, ship it, deliver it, monitor it, and keep it going with all the new updates to the COVID shots and so forth. And what we realized is entire countries were now relying on ServiceNow's platform to keep their people alive and safe. And that took us to a new level of mental commitment to what we could be someday. And that was the first 100 days. That was how we managed around COVID. And I've always believed that you just take every pressure point, every setback in your life as an opportunity to rise and do the best you possibly can and show the grit and come back stronger for it. And fortunately for us, we actually got stronger through COVID,
Right.
even in a remote world. And you know what was crazy? I learned something that I did not expect. The CEOs were so easy to get to because they were home. So I literally started the day at like 6 a.m. and closed it down in California with Asia late at night to make sure that every CEO in the world that we could possibly have a conversation with could understand the power of this once-in-a-generation platform. And they did. So it actually really was a catalyst for us because we covered so much ground so quickly. I mean, if you're meeting them with airplanes, that'll take you a while.
Sure.
Zoom, you can get 8 or 9 in a day. That's how it went.
Yeah. I'd ask the team here to think about your questions. I knew I'd get slaughtered if I don't let them ask.
You can let it rip with me.
But before we get there, I do have, there was a lot of discussion today, Bill, about the practical application of AI adoption. We have a lot of CIOs here, and given your travel and the fact that from so many customers, can you give some examples of where practical, actual adoption of AI is happening?
Sure.
And where is it resisting? Where is it not happening
Sure.
in the customer base?
Sure, I'll happily do that. I'll give one really fun example, and Megan, you remember this because we were together in New York City. I was meeting with Gary Bettman, who is the commissioner of the NHL. And we had a very nice meeting, very good friendship. And I'm talking AI and really using an agentic AI portal that's highly secure to manage the NHL, all of its people, but also the 32 teams. So everybody would just have one agentic experience to improve their world, their job, get things done faster, better, cheaper, but also invigorate each team with a consistency around the NHL. So there wouldn't be 32 NHLs, there'd only be one. This is really interesting because the people that were influencing that decision are excellent people, but the go-in position is always, let's delay, let's postpone it, let's go another 6 months, let's do a proof of concept. Everybody wants a proof of concept. And I said, you know what, why don't we just do it? And why don't we just prove to you that it works and it'll make you a lot happier, a lot more successful. And I think we did that in 2 weeks. And they were up and running. They call it home ice. They're deriving extraordinary value. 90% of the people are very satisfied and they feel their job is substantially improved. And the teams love dealing with the league, which is a really important thing.
Sure.
So ours works. And it works because we have great engineering. We started building, I know there's a great representative here from NVIDIA, or my wonderful friend Jensen. We started building our domain-specific model with him 6 years ago. And we came out with an AI version of our platform in COVID, I might add. And now it's just gotten so refined that it's in about 1,600 companies around the world. And since we do business with the Fortune 2000, and that's the biggest base, we do many more too, you can imagine the biggest companies in the world are doing it. We ourselves now have 90% of our customer service, our IT service, and our HR service being done by agents. As an example, in HR, we have one agent for every 800 employees. Our head of HR thinks that one agent can handle 1,600 soon. So these are quantum leaps in improvement of productivity. By the way, we don't lay anybody off. We're still hiring because we're a growth company, but we're lifting and shifting humans into jobs that they actually prefer much more. And we're letting AI work for people. And it's really lifted up our culture. That's big. And the other thing I did want to mention on this topic, Tim, is the CEOs, and I do pride myself on these relationships, and every day, minimum, there's 2 or 3 of them, 2 or 3 meetings a day with CEOs. Today was 120, but they were consolidated into one place. It was very nice. But what they're telling me is that they want less platforms. They want to make bigger bets on bigger partners. They're tired of the proof of concept game. It's wearing them down. Most of the POCs that they choose with companies that are pretenders, pushing agents everywhere, are failing. As you know, MIT, and I'm sure you're way ahead of me on the study, that 95% of the AI out there is not delivering positive ROI. And people say to me, man, that's crazy. No, it isn't. 85% of the digital transformation projects in the world for the last 25 years haven't delivered a positive ROI. And you say, why is that? Integration. One department doesn't talk to another. One system doesn't talk to another. So what we wanted to do is create a platform that's scaled across all enterprise domains, all, IT, HR, customer, engineering, all the departments. And Amit calls this east to west, AI that goes east to west. AI is cross-functional. It is not operating in a silo.
Yeah.
So if you want to operate in a silo and you want to buy somebody's agents, have fun. You'll make 20 people more productive and they might like you for it. But if you want to change and transform a company, one clean pane of glass that's AI driven, that goes across all of it, that can connect to any cloud, any model, and any data source. That's the game we're playing. And I really see the early signs of this in a world where there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of confusion,
right,
especially at the C-suite. It's working because it works. So I think that this is an unbelievable opportunity, you know? It's gonna be a $22 trillion market by 2030. And what I love about AI that works, real platforms, is it does not discriminate, because you can both grow, that's a $22 trillion numerator I gave you, and you can also take costs out to the tune of $4 trillion by 2030. And a lot of people say, wow, that's a big market. Yeah, it is, but by 2040 it'll be 40 trillion.
Right.
And so this is a new world order of things. And I do want to make one thing clear. A lot of people feel that AI isn't good for people. And I don't agree with that. And I think every tectonic change in technology has always worried us about how humans will survive and thrive in this new world order of things. What I see is the demand for people and the soft skills of people, the real talents of people. Obviously, you great technologists, engineers, leaders of technology enterprises, speaks for itself. Amit, could we survive without them? Not even a chance. But it's also, think about even, people that touch the customer, whether you're in a support function or a direct function. The human capacity of people is actually really being more appreciated now than it used to be. But the expectations have also risen, that if people are going to give you their time, they're expecting you to be great at using it wisely. So I'm really excited. I have never seen an opportunity bigger, and I just feel like this world is going to be your oyster. If you make great products, if your brand shows up well, if you can tell a great story, and you're building a strong ecosystem, which I see a lot of friends in here, and then ultimately, we really make technology and AI in particular good for people.
We'll open the floor to questions. Anybody has, right in the corner? Yeah, go ahead, please. If you don't mind saying your who you're with, and then.
Guy Horowitz with 33 Adventures. So I think the opportunity is clear, and you're doing a great job telling the story. But then my question is, why ServiceNow? There are so many contenders at the junction of AI and employee experience, right? So many claims to the fake. So why would I pick ServiceNow now and in the future?
Good question, Guy. I think the main thing is, we've been a public company since 2012, and we have proven AI with use cases, references in every industry, in every geography in the world. We can show the facts. So having substantive customer references helps. We have a very large ecosystem that has built their franchise on the ServiceNow platform and the brand, and they're expanding with the company. So you want to be with a company that's thriving, it's going places, there's investments being put into it. You also want a platform that is a cross-functional AI platform, because business processes, while that might seem like a term that you understand well, the problem with business processes, whether it's order to cash, procure to pay, design to build, recruit to retire, I can go through many of these concepts. They are very broken and disconnected in companies today. And CEOs have invested billions in technology, and I said earlier, not gotten positive ROI out of it. So what company platform can go in there where it makes you stronger in your hyperscaler relationships, which are very mission critical to many companies, that connects with all the other language models, because they're all good and they all do something important, but let's make sure we have the integration with them so you get the business benefit out of them. The other thing, we have to connect with all these systems and all the data in these systems. And we have invented a RaptorDB database, an in-memory PostgreSQL database that we think is the best in the world. Others can have their opinion of it, but I can ingest any data at mass scale in the enterprise now. So customers have choice. Do you want to move the data into this AI platform for business transformation and do it all in ServiceNow? Oh, probably sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Fine. We make a zero copy of any data source. So I am, Guy, unaware, and if you are aware of another company that has a platform that goes east to west and north to south, up and down the stack, across every industry in the global economy, with thousands of happy customers and a thriving ecosystem that's beating expectations in Wall Street every time, I would say, who are they? I want to meet them.
Thank you.
You happy? All right, brother.
I'll just go this way. Yeah, go ahead, please, in the back.
Yusuf Khan, the early play at MoveWorks back in the day. So,
Love MoveWorks.
Thanks very much. What are lessons learned at SAP as a CEO that you came to ServiceNow and said, I'm not going to do, or I can do much better?
Well, I think it was really more about, what's the difference between SAP and ServiceNow and how did you modulate the strategy. I think it's much more about recognizing that every culture is a little bit different, and you have to really be very keen on the culture. You also have to be very smart about things. We had a very strong engineering culture at ServiceNow, and we were building great products that were in the market and succeeding. And we were early in the adoption of many dreams and visions we had for what the platform could be. So we did not go for large-scale M&A, which was an incredibly different strategy than I did at SAP. And neither one is right or wrong, but both of the strategies were proper for the company and where it was in its development and its engineering capability and go-to-market capability. Now with SAP, and let me be clear, I love SAP, and we needed to do the M&A moves because it's 2010, we have a great ERP business, but I got nothing in the cloud. And I got a buying center and CEOs that want SaaS. And not to respond to that would have hurt our core. And so what I learned is as we were doing these deals, we were also increasing the growth rate of the core. And if you got a great core, you got something. So I always felt like companies that are truly great have a great core. And so if you look at ServiceNow in the world of IT and service management around IT, it's the standard. So if you look at SAP, the ERP is the standard. So the question is always, how can I expand the perimeter, either organically, through partnerships, or even M&A? And that's what we did in both cases. They were just different approach shots.
And Nikhil Gupta, founder and CEO of Arnold Code. I'll ask a question which probably you are very familiar. What is one of the biggest moments of your career?
Of my career. I gave you the first job you know, at Xerox because, like I said, it wasn't a job interview, it was a fight for my life. Another great moment in my career, I would have to say is, you know, really coming off of an injury that nobody expected me to get up from. And, you know, walking in and facing, you know, 100,000 people with cuts all over me and just coming off a really tough injury. And realizing that it takes courage to get back up. A lot of people can surf the wave when it's perfect, but when it busts you and it takes you into the sand and everything hurts, who are you really? And so I really think that was a moment. And actually I thought that it made me an even better leader in the sense that I have a higher empathy and a greater depth for the pain that a lot of people deal with every day, whether it's them personally, it's their families. And so by me being vulnerable and getting right out there, it was kind of like everybody had an invitation to get closer to me, you know? He bleeds like everybody else, you know? And he's real. And he's here because he wants to be here, not because he has to be here. And so I think that was a real moment. And I think in many ways, it made me brand new again. And everything became brand new and fresh. And I still feel that way. So I think some people who have near-death experiences, like they're gifted by God with a new appreciation for everything, man. Grateful for everything. And you know, I pass people that could be sweeping the floor, and I'll tell them, thank you. My experience in this building would never be nearly as nice if you didn't keep the floor so lovely. Thank you. I appreciate you. I see a receptionist. I might be going in to see the CEO. That receptionist is just as important to me as that CEO. She matters. What would I be if not for Joanne Siciliano taking that note into Emerson Forward? So all these genetic things that have always been there, they're just like at a peak, a heightened awareness that I just find just such a blessing. And I think that, you know, we all have our path, you know? Like we're all gonna get hit with a thunderbolt. And the question is, how are you gonna get up from it? And in my case, like I really believe, like destiny plays a role in everyone's life. And man, I probably wouldn't have volunteered for what I went through. Oh yeah, Bill, would you volunteer? Like, you know, let's do that again. Probably not. But when you do it well. And that's really a question no one's ever asked me, but that's the one. I would definitely give it that one.
Maybe last two questions, I know you had your hand up.
What was such a touching story. Thank you so much for sharing. Great inspiration.
Thank you.
I'm Vivian, I work at Salesforce.
Thank you.
Along these ups and downs of the journey, what is one superpower you kind of discovered for yourself that surprised you? I mean, you have a lot of superpowers, but what is that one thing? And then the second question I have is, you talk to a lot of customers. What is the biggest opportunity you see that you guys have to build to capture the biggest value?
Thank you so much. I appreciate the question. I think the thing that surprises me, maybe the most, looking back retrospectively, is the fact I told you in the beginning tonight that after my first grade teacher wrote me off, I would never get out hustled. And I also tell you that I've never gotten tired. Like, I'm still what I was when I was 21. And I still have this hunger and this thirst and this drive that I feel is a blessing. So that's a superpower that I probably couldn't have predicted at the beginning of the journey. But thank you, God. And in terms of what I feel we have to do, we have to win AI. And what I mean by that is, there's going to be lots of market participants. You're one of them, and you're a very good company, and you've done massively important things. I really believe that AI and the revolution of AI is the central theme of enterprise software. And I really also believe that the AI revolution will be won cross-functionally. I actually believe that you'll see the destruction of org charts soon. I don't think the org charts will survive AI. I think that cross-functional work is AI work. I think you're going to start to see companies reorganized by processes that deliver for the customer and deliver for the innovation that the company is trying to bring to the customer. That company is going to have to really turn this thing upside down. It won't happen overnight, but I believe strongly in this. And so I would probably say AI, and I would say you got to completely rethink the customer. And I don't just mean CRM or reinventing a legacy form of CRM. I mean putting a company upside down with the customer at the top and creating an AI masterpiece that gives them whatever they want in any channel with complete precision from the way they enter into your world, the dynamism of understanding what they do on the internet and every social network, coming into the order, the fulfillment, the service, the ongoing care, having it so systematized around a platform in AI that the customer literally feels like you live with them. And I believe that enterprise software companies have to achieve that goal in the long run. And I also believe, consumer companies knew that a long time ago, but they won't get there without enterprise software companies helping them get there. So we really have a chance here to fundamentally change the world. And I would say, I think Ahmed's probably with me on that, is AI, and it's really reinventing the way the company serves the customer and therefore the world. And always remember, there is no happy customer without a happy employee. So I always look at those things on a bilateral level, intellectually. Thank you for the question.
I know, Bill, we can keep you here for
I
a
can
long,
take a
long
few more if you
time.
want. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll take maybe one more, and I promise Megan I will keep this somewhat on the clock. So maybe, are we okay, Megan?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I don't like to break promises, so let's go right there. Yeah.
Sorry, Shobit Nandi from Live Nation.
Great to see you.
You're such an amazing, enthralling storyteller, Bill, so I think we're all in rapture right now.
Thank you, my friend.
Question, you didn't want to take a meeting, a 2 to 3 hour meeting. It was boring, because you wanted to get out there, be on the
Yeah.
news. You're now the CEO of ServiceNow.
Yeah.
I'm just really curious if I could peek into your diary. What does the week look like? How do you manage your time? How do you manage your day? How much time do you reflect? How much time do you go? Like, how do you divide your time, your
Yeah.
energy? Just really, really curious.
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. It's a really good question. Megan and I were just talking about that today. I get up 2 hours before anyone that's normal. And the reason I do that is I need the quiet. Like, all my best ideas happen in silence, and I love silence.
Is that 4? What time do you get?
That's, could be 4:30.
Okay, wow.
And so, I love being with you right now, like more than you can imagine. I'm not mailing it in, like I'm here and you know it. But when I got that peace and that quiet, everything just feels so beautiful to me about the world. So that's one thing that's necessary. And the day is really geared around the customer, and I do spend a lot of time with customers, and they'll usually start off with CEOs like first thing out of the gate, and we're rocking. And very often we'll close it with customers. But in between that is running the company. And I would basically say, I believe in fast-moving processes. I believe in helping the great leaders that I'm blessed to have in the company. I treat them like adults. I don't want to pretend that I could ever do Ahmed's job as good as him. And so forth with our leadership team. And my theory on all this is I do what I do well often, and I don't do what I don't do so well at all. That's why I hire the best people in the world to do that. And then as a team, 80% of what we do, we're doing our craft and we're the best. And then the other 20%, we're always helping each other. So the dynamism is always the customer, it's running the company, the processes are fast moving, it's a high trust environment, and everybody has to do her or his fair share. Because the standard is to be the defining enterprise software company of the 21st century. And when the standards are high, the tactics are entrusted to the people that are best suited to deliver against them. And I really try to stay out of people's way. And I know that might be interesting. So much so that they invite me to their craft. So if they're meeting with all the go-to-market leaders, or they're doing something around their processes, or Ahmed has a summer strategy meeting with his engineering team, I get invited to his meeting. And the reason for that is he's in charge. He doesn't need me to babysit him. What he needs me to do is be a sounding board, spot things, see things, communicate things, always be honest, always be open. And I will say this, and I think Ahmed would back me up on this. We're real time. I mean, if he sends me a message or I send a message, what do you wait? A minute? It's like a blur.
Always on.
What blows my mind, man, is I'll send a message in other companies, and I'm doing something in service for them or to them or something like that, and 2 days later, oh, they're back. Oh, thank you very much. Like, sorry, I'm a little late getting back. I'm like, 2 days. 2 days. 24 hours. What? So that like blows my mind. If I meet with the head of a major auto manufacturer on a Friday, and let's just put me in Germany, that auto manufacturer has the closed loop follow-up to everything we discussed within a half an hour. Now, when they check their inbox, they're usually a little surprised. So we have systematized all of these things. And so I think the whole point that I wanted to make with you is scale. I have worked for bosses that have a tremendous attention to detail, where every little detail, they're on it. They'll approve the paper clips. They're saving 30% on paper clips. And they're approving every hiring decision you're making, and they're approving your budget, and they're over-approving everything. And they're not letting you be loose. And your creative juices and your dreams never flourish with them. You never get to breathe. And they don't scale. They're the same ones that were really good from 0 to 1 billion. And you met some of them.
Yeah.
You get them 1.5 billion, RPMs are going like this. Because everyone in the company is sitting there waiting for them to make a decision. So that's the way I look at it. Did that help you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Mohanjit.
Hi, Mohanjit Jolly with Iron Pillar. Stage name is MJ, so feel free to call me MJ.
All right.
There are a bunch of startups in this room right now as well. So the question is really from a startup perspective. One of the statements you made, and apologies if I misconstrued it, is around AI and agentic AI in particular. There seems to be some level of POC fatigue, right? There's POC this, POC that. So if I'm a startup and I'm trying to break into any one of those Fortune 2000, what would you encourage that startup to do? Is it go through a partnership model, perhaps, with a company like ServiceNow, or is there something else if indeed the POC fatigue is setting?
Well, first of all, in all respect, like I have no doubt that there are things that you all are doing that are breathtaking, and probably in their domain could blow any of the big brands out of the water because the depth and the reach that you have and what you are doing. So please take this with the utmost of respect. And the other MJ, after all, won 6 championships, and not a single team.
He was named after me.
And not a single team. There's an interesting thing about MJ. Not a single team ever took him to Game 7. He's a killer. It didn't go to Game 7. So that's when you say, like, who's the greatest, at least in the modern era, MJ. I think partnerships matter. I think, how you strengthen your ecosystem matters. I think many great inventions have fallen short because of the go-to-market aspect of all this. So you got to think about your channel strategy, go-to-market strategy, your partners, and you got to think about the tight-knit group that you have. I mean, it's entirely possible that small teams can go in at the top of the house, whatever that means, and prove their great innovation and the value that it delivers, and I wouldn't be surprised if you won plenty of things. You know, I look at that as a great blessing in this world, that entrepreneurs can do anything, and I never bet against them. I'm the scale guy, so I'm always thinking like, how does it get from here to 100 billion and beyond? And so that is, you know, where my mind and my expertise settles in. But partner with ServiceNow and get in the solution partnership game with ServiceNow. You know, we're not going to do anything to harm you. It could end up being a very good force multiplier for you, even if it's like in an industry or it's a space where you're really good. We'll celebrate your craft and, you know, put it in the website and do other things. We really are trying to build a great ecology around the brand, and really be honest, trustworthy with these partnerships. I know a lot of big companies that are just so nasty, you know, and self-indulged, and they just want to take and they don't want to give. We actually keep making investments in the brand and pouring in some trust in the brand so it breathes a little. Hope it helps you.
Last question goes to Kira.
Hi, Kira McEgon, Game Central. First of all, thank you. Like, highly inspirational, truly.
Thank you.
So you talked a lot about like your day. How do you hire, and what do you expect out of the people on your team? Who succeeds? Who doesn't? When do you fire? And how's it changed over the years?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Hiring, firing, how has it evolved over the years? First of all, I believe that you have to have standards. So we identify 9s and 10s, metaphorically, and we don't want 8s and 7s and 6s, 9s and 10s. Now you're gonna get some 8s and 7s, it's life. But you gotta recognize, if you're gonna take an 8 and a 7 and take a shortcut because you hired fast and you wanted to get someone in the job and get them rocking, they're gonna have some training needs, and they're gonna need to get up to speed fast. And so you've already set yourself back on the clock, and you might have also set them up for trouble. So I believe in hiring a little more slowly, a little more deliberately, especially for the key jobs, and having more eyes on it than just you or the person that always rubber stamps everything you do. You got big jobs and you know exactly where to go for the rubber stampers, but you need people that challenge you to make you better. And in terms of firing people, I like to fire them up, not fire them. And that to me is an underappreciated skill of leadership, because we're constantly so cut and dry that we forgot what it was to paint a dream and help people see the biggest picture, one that they've never even dreamt of themselves, and then tie that into their own personality and their own ambition. But having said that, you're going to run into cases where people aren't performing. And unfortunately, if you don't have accountability and you don't have a process to make sure performance improvement is a process, you're going to end up with a bad situation, because you're going to miss the development opportunity for someone that could be improved, and you're also going to take too long to fire somebody who's just not going to be good at that job. Now, having said that, there's another thing that happens in these companies all the time. They move somebody who's not doing the job into some other role in the company, because surely if they're not working for me, they're going to be great. Let me get them over there. And then you create a chaotic situation because we move mediocrity from one place to another. So hire slow, fire fast, figuratively speaking, because I have yet to meet the top leader in any company who's told me a story where they just moved out too quickly on Joe Smith. Yeah, I kind of rushed it. Not one. They always tell me, damn, I knew Joe wasn't going to get it. I knew it 9 months ago. And had I moved a little bit sooner, we wouldn't be going down the tubes now. So that's how I feel about it. But I also feel as a leader, We owe people everything, and we cannot shortchange human capital management. We cannot do that, because in the end, you are going to be remembered not for what you took, but what you gave to this world. And the people that are in your report, that are the people that look up to you and count on you, deserve that. And I really sincerely believe we've gotten in a world in these corporations where it's so sterile, it's so bureaucratic, it's so digital and distant, that we forgot the magic and power in people. And this is obviously not your great companies, it's just in general. And so give people the best you got, and really give it some time. You know, I ask people all the time, you know, so-and-so, they're doing bad. Did you tell them? I'm gonna. Why would you tell me they're doing bad if you didn't tell them? How often do you actually have a plan and review with so-and-so? I'm gonna get to it. Gotta get it on the calendar. Well, do you have a process where you regularly meet, and out of that meeting, there are defined actions, and it's even documented so so-and-so doesn't forget what it was you agreed to and what it was you're gonna review the next time you sit down? Good idea. So I think we really have to get back to basics. Meet the people, share the expectations, be very transparent with good and bad feedback. They want it. And if they're struggling in these jobs, believe me, they're not happy either. And so sitting there like it's a cage match of who is going to be less sincere than actually putting the cards on the table is not being very forthright. So I would look at the in-process measures of what is the hiring process in these companies. I mean, I totally had to reinvent mine at ServiceNow. I mean, totally. And so what is that process? And whose eyes are on this? How is AI helping? And then when they get in this crazy situation, we onboard them, and the company they meet is like nothing the one the website said they were entering. That's so unfair. You got to onboard them right. You got to have a mass customized training curriculum. You got to do a skill assessment on the AI world that we're living in and make sure people are up to speed on that. And you got to be generous with your training time that you're giving them. And you got to be really personal and human and supportive. And what I love about AI, I do believe it's the one technology that encompasses all the other ones that can free us up and get us out of the bureaucracy so we can do the important things with people. I actually think AI might be the best chance people have to getting real companies again. Companies that, you know, operate like people want them to operate. I said to somebody, a CEO the other day, you know, we're talking and, you know, these companies are sending out notes like, okay, we want you in 3 days a week. We want this shift on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. No, we want you in 5 days a week. No, if you don't come in five days a week, we're going to send Vito to the parking lot to meet you at your car. I'm like, time out, man. Like, what is the environment that you can create that they want to come in for? And who else is in that they can celebrate the work with? You know, and how do you guys really groove it out? So I love the question because it's a deep question, and I hope I didn't shortchange you on it, but in-process measures, not just the result measures, are the way to drive great hiring and great firing techniques.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Thank you.
So, Bill, I know I speak for everybody in the room that, as you well know, we've been doing this for 20 years. This is our 20th CXO event. And as I listened to you and process every question that you answered, I'm not surprised that you led 3 companies, Xerox, SAP, and I was thinking when I was driving here, Xerox was in the sort of the mainframe days, 17 years ago. SAP, client server-ish to client server cloud, and now ServiceNow. So I think ServiceNow is blessed to have you as a CEO leader and we're blessed to have you this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, friend. Thank you all very much.